Hello and welcome to another episode of Empower You podcast. I am your host, Michael Abney, just shining a light on living life a little bit more consciously, and we do that by sharing stories of amazing people all around the world about how they're using their passion in conjunction with energy, manifestation, and all things, making us more aware of everything that's going on. The more aware we get, the more choices that we have, and the better life flows. So with that, I'm so happy to introduce my guest today, Sally Gimon, and she is joining us from North Carolina. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Michael. I appreciate it.
You bet. And we are going to be talking about money today, right? Your passion.
Yes.
And
saving money.
Saving money. Oh, what's that? I don't even know what that is. Share your story about how that this kind of like connected and how, you know, energy and spirit you mentioned. And we just talked a little bit before this podcast started that you work with Bob Proctor, his teachings, and like how that's impacted you. I can't wait to hear your story. I think that this is a conversation that we need to have a lot more in our communities about energy, and it's just so easy to go, that doesn't really matter, or I don't want to be specific about my goals. And it's like the universe needs us to be specific about what it is that we want so that we can help co-create it. So I'm really excited about this empowering conversation. Welcome, and share a little bit about your story.
Thank you. Just so your listeners know, they say less than 3% of Americans write down their goals every year. They'll say them aloud, but it doesn't mean anything if you don't write them down. And being a student of Bob Proctor, I have one very specific goal that I write. I'm thankful, I'm grateful. I plan to sell 132 trusts by December 31st, 2023. I write it 100 times a day, and I'm not going to break it. I'm going to surpass that either in August or September, and it's changed my life. I mean, every morning
You write it out?
Every morning I sit by myself and just write it out in a notebook, front page, back page. You're supposed to do it with your left hand. To me, that's just too time consuming, but I do it. Yeah, that's what my coach.
Because you're right-handed, right?
You're supposed
to. Are you right-handed?
I'm right-handed. You're supposed to do it with the other hand. That's what my coach says, and I'm like, just too time consuming. That's not for me. But yes, I do that. I have affirmations I do in the mirror, morning and at night, and I write down my 6 things I need to do for the next day before I get ready for bed, and then during the day I just cross them off. I got that done. I got that done. Things like that. So goals are important. You have to have it because the universe works in our favor when we ask it to.
Yes, and we're participating with it. Like you're like totally involved. I'm all for that, especially at night. I think it's so important to like feel like in manifesting anything, you can, if you manifest from the space that you already have it. Yeah.
Yes.
And that's really what you're training your psyche to do, is like you're working with it from, and people that are analytic, which if you're numbers, you probably are more analytic, like that it serves you so well. People like me, it's going to feel like a little forced at the beginning and not kind of real, but over time it becomes that practice. And something that I picked up like not too long ago was this, the universe loves to harmonize with us as we like co-create with them, and it wants to balance out like what we're saying to match the reality that we're living into. So I think it's extraordinary that you're going to your goals and you're just doing these it's kind of simple, right?
It's simple. You've got to carve out. It's a habit, so it does take, what do they say, 27 days, 28 days or something. So you have to carve it out and do it. And last week I was traveling and I didn't do it for 2 days in a row. I'm like, oh, I feel so, I was out
weird.
Of sorts, if that makes sense. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like when I'm coaching people, I'm like, anybody can do anything for 3 days. Anybody can do anything for 3 days. If you can do it for 3 days, you can do it for 3 weeks. If you can do it for 3 weeks, you can do it for 3 months.
Exactly.
So that's like, but it only takes 3 days to break a habit.
I
Like
can
it's
believe
gone.
that easily. I had to be at the airport 6 o'clock in the morning, so I left the house at 5 o'clock. I didn't do my little, I have a little routine
Yeah.
in the morning. I'm like, wow. And then the next day, I met someone for breakfast at the hotel. I'm like, I have to go upstairs and do my little. It takes about an hour. I'll be honest. It takes about an hour to do what I need to do, and no radio, no music, no TV. Just concentrate on what you're working on.
Yeah. 100%. I love this. This is practical, but it's like it's not as woo woo as people think. Like a lot of people that I work with, they have this preconceived conception about what it is to manifest, or especially when it comes to manifesting and money just go hand in hand. But money is just energy, and manifestation is just the energy that you use to create whatever it is that you're creating via practices and creating those habits. So it's just thank you for driving that home. It's very valuable
You're
to
welcome.
repeat
I
that.
believe in it. My coach Susan. I'm going to be bad. I don't remember the author's name, but have you heard of M Squared? A book that talks about there's 10 little manifestations to do.
No, but I hear new books from all of the people on my podcast. So
Correct.
M
And I
squared.
just forgot M Squared. I got from the Phoenix Library when I was living there, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to sit down. I don't know about you, but people always tell me I'm lucky. I say something and something comes true, and I'm like, I don't think it's luck. I think you put things
not luck at
together.
all.
And for me personally, but you asked about my story. My mom and dad were living 20 miles west of Phoenix in Goodyear, Arizona. I was living in Phoenix. They came in 2018 to North Carolina for my oldest nephew's wedding. Along the way, my mom got sick. She got septic of the blood. She was on a ventilator for 13 months, in a hospital for 15 months, 9 months in North Carolina. And, my mom's very religious. I mean, always was praying and everything else. And, one thing we all agreed on, my entire family, was we'll keep praying for her. She got better. She lost her memory for the 13 months, but I got an extra 3 months with her, talking to her, telling her. The last thing I said to her, I gave her a shower, and I said, "Mom, I love you." And she goes, "You're a joy of my life." And I ran off to work, and unfortunately, she passed away later that day while I was at work. And I'm like, that's the last word she said to me. I was the joy of her life. I mean, I couldn't ask for a better thing to remember her with. And because of her, she got sick at the end of October. The wedding was October 28th. In December, I went out to their house in Goodyear doing their mail, and there was a 27-page envelope, pages put in half. It was her 1 month in Medicare in the hospital. You open it up, and it was $172,000 to be on a ventilator. My dad, thank God, was a retired military officer. Everything was going to be paid for, but I'm standing in their kitchen. I've got student loan debt. I got credit card debt. My brand new car, 3 weeks old, I went through on a green light on Indian School Road, a major road in Phoenix. Second car through on the light. A guy ran a red light, T-boned the back of my car, totaled my car out. So 2 car payments, I'm broke. So in my parents' kitchen, I called my friend Glenn, who's a real estate investor, and he says, "Hey, next week we're having a Christmas party. We're going to be late because we have a Christmas pageant with our kids." I'm like, oh, I don't know about you, but going to a party by yourself, hard thing to do. It was the best decision of my life. They're very uncomfortable. I walked in, I brought a pasta salad because I don't know, are people allergic to things? Met some fantastic people. I started real estate investing, and it's only made my life better. And then fast forward, in July of 2020, I took down a contract for a bank-owned house for $20,000 that was going to go to auction for $50,000. Woohoo! I'm going to make $30,000 spread, not even lifting a hammer, but it had to wait for 13 months because of COVID. In my national real estate group, there's a gentleman named Garrett Gunderson who wrote a book called What the Rockefellers Do. It's now called What the Billionaires Do. I had a copy of it, and I went through it to figure out how the Rockefellers Trust worked, and I researched it because $30,000 spread, capital gains, short-term capital gains would be $7,100. I'm like, yikes, I don't want to pay that. So I found the law firm. I became I'm allowed to sell this trust, and I'm now teaching 1099 income earners. You're a real estate broker. You're getting paid 1099. How to save at least 70% of their federal taxes, and investors no longer pay capital gains, interest income, dividend income, rental income, and royalties, and I'm changing people's lives. It's a fantastic job to have.
Yes, hello. I love it.
Yes.
How did this, like, it literally from that being uncomfortable, going to that space led to all of these other things clicking, right?
Exactly. And when I started researching the trust, this is a true story. Again, my coach Susan comes involved. I sent an email to the gentleman who ran the Phoenix chapter saying, hey, I'd like to teach a mastermind. Everyone, we had 8 different masterminds, always with men, not a single woman. Sweating buckets, losing sleep. A week goes by, and Susan goes, send it again. I'm like, oh. So very uncomfortable. I sent the same email a second time, and 48 hours he replies back to me and goes, I would love for you to do a mastermind. So I started doing that for 18 months in my real estate group. Things are going fantastic. Zach's my mentor, he's my friend, and we were business partners. Fast forward, I was telling you the story, January 12th, 2022, I'm in North Carolina for Christmas. I looked at my bank account and I didn't get paid enough on a wholesale deal that Zach and I were involved with. So I sent a simple text saying, hey Zach, what happened to our agreement? That's all I said. Next day he shows up on a scheduled Zoom. I don't know, is it Dr. Jekyll or is it Mr. Hyde? Who's the one who's crazy?
You know what? I think it's Jekyll, but I'm not for sure.
Well, he shows up. He's blaming me for everything. He's going, you lie. He goes, you're calling me a thief. You're calling me a liar. I'm like, hey, I sent a simple text. I don't know what, I was asking you what happened. Well, he goes to me, I'm going to have to put your mastermind on hold. 18 months, Thursday, 6 o'clock. As a group, 800 investors who know me, like me, trust me. I'm doing pretty good selling the trust there. I told him on the phone call, I'm not a human yo-yo. Either I continue or I'm done. And he goes, you'll be nothing without me. I mean, those are his last words to me, a friend, my mentor, who, anything I do. So again, going back to my coach, Susan, she's just like Sally, 3 hard things. You need to move, you need a new real estate group, and you need to start your own business. I didn't want to hear this. I was depressed. January, all of a sudden, everything I knew fell through. Well, I started my own company, The Trust Is You, in March of 2022. I have a national business broker company. Their brokers send me their clients. Do you realize when someone sells a business, I don't care if it's an Amazon store, a car wash, or anything else, the U.S. federal government, they're going to take what you paid for it and then what you sell for it, and in between, they're going to charge you either 15% or 20% of the sale price for capital gains. People don't know this. I mean, I just helped a 69-year-old gentleman sell his family restaurant, and we saved him $460,000 or $600,000. And he's like, I don't care. I'm saving 6 figures. Sign me up for the trust. So I'm changing their lives. His wife called me in happy tears saying, this is going to change our retirement. What if one of them falls and breaks their hip? What if one of them has a stroke or a heart attack? An extra $460,000 can change how they live their retirement.
100%.
Yes.
So, without going into if somebody wants to reach out to you about this specific thing, I'll put your information in below. But since we're talking about the energy things and your story, what does it feel like to be able to provide that sort of service of, you're bringing awareness, your passion is, and you're taking that and you're showing people how to really impact their lives. Because,
yes,
money's just money until you don't have it. Then it's like, right. What?
What's the saying? Money doesn't buy happiness. Well, be broke. So yes.
Yeah. Well, I have been. I've had times in my life where I've had extraordinary amounts of money, and then I've also had times where there was 2014 when I had my midlife crisis, and everything went away. Universe has a way of clearing that out. It'll clear out anything that's in the way of you seeing what you need to see to take your life to the next level when we're going through these spaces. They used to be cyclical, but now the energy's so just peel. There's no cycle to it. It's it's really quick energy wise. So people can go from okay, and then that's out from underneath you in no time at all, because whatever that, for me, it was a feeling of lack of control. It was feeling of like there was something about, especially in the real estate market. You could work with somebody for 6 months and then all of a sudden they'll make a decision like, hey, well, we're not going to do X now. We're going to do X. And it's like completely changes your paradigm. There's so much of it that's outside yourself that's difficult to stay centered in your, like what you're creating.
Yes. There's so much. I mean, how many cable channels or how many Netflix movies can you watch? Yes.
So it's like moving from that to like the thing is, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to like, I've been wanting to have a coaching business for a really long time. And in the beginning of 2021, I actually started on that journey. And, this podcast is actually a part of that system because I'm a channel too. So I was given this like system to work people so they could clear out, like anytime anything new emerges in our world that we want to go for, we have a belief system that's in place, that's in our blind spots that are incongruent with that new reality. Otherwise, we would already have the reality, right? We have the reality we have because of the collection of beliefs. But if we can't see them, it's really frustrating, and it can go south really, really quickly because you don't understand what's happening around you and the whole thing collapses. So that's what happened to me in 2014.
Wow.
So
and how long did it take you to recover?
A year. It took me 6 months to stop bitching that it happened.
Okay.
It did. It took me 6 months just to stop being mad. Like, stop being mad that this happened. Like, because I had a big, huge spiritual awakening in 2008, and that was life-changing. And I thought, everything's gravy after, you get these big ahas. The further that you reach for your dreams, the deeper you gotta dig.
I believe that, and I don't mean to say this mean about people, but think of that old example about crabs. If you put a crab in a pot, he'll try to escape. You put 5 crabs in a pot, they'll all pull down the person. You have to make sure you have the right people around you.
Around you. Yes. Your top 5 people, the people that are your I'm a huge advocate. I'm aware of who they change over time. Like your top 5 people in your life that you're just a product of that. Divide by 5, that's who you are.
It's true. I mean, going back to what happened back in January, Zach was probably my number 2 or number 3 person, and I mean, my world shaked. I don't know how bad your world shook, and I found other people to replace that, better people to replace that, and really the sad story that was happening was all of a sudden I was very active in the community in Phoenix, and then I moved, and people were asking what was happening, and 7 different stories came out where he did the exact same thing to other people. I'm like, why haven't you told people this? Why did you let other people do this? And I'm not using last names, but I have no problem telling exactly what happened, and because I'm not a psychiatrist, but a friend of mine says he sounds like a narcissist, and I'm like, I think it is. I called him out on his crap. I hate to say
Bullshit.
That, but I called him out on his crap, and what? Another person didn't know. I don't know how much you know about real estate, but they were looking at doing an arbitrage on a house. So she is an inspector. This is her job. She inspects houses. She walked around the pool in Phoenix. There was no water in it, so the concrete was cracked. And she's just like, this is how much is going to have to be done. And she turned in a report to the property manager. She didn't know it was Zach's house. He calls her the next day and just laid into her. And she goes, I know my business. And the pool was actually $4,000 more to fix than what she had put into the quote. And he just, I mean, he doesn't like to be told no. And I don't need those kind of people in my life anymore.
You don't. And for the purpose of this podcast, where we look through the lens of being empowered, there are always stuff that happens to us by outside people but in the 30,000 feet view, they were really showed up to serve us in some way. So an empowering way to look at that is this person was X in your life, and he got you to a certain spot, and then something in you wanted something more, better, or different that you were going for, and he was no longer a match to it. So wherever your level of awareness is, that's how it splits so that you can be free to create what you're creating now. So in that big scheme of things, there's forgiveness, there's like seeing that this was perfect, and like he could have an agreement energetically with 100 people to do this particular expression too, right? So this was really serving you in the long-term bigger picture, even though it's so easy for humans to go, oh, poor Sally, this poor thing. Like, we're not that. We're not doing that today. We're just saying that you had this experience and that it led you here and what it's unfolding for you now. Where did Bob Proctor kind of come into your awareness? Was it during this time or afterwards, or?
Correct. I started doing the real estate investing back in actually December 2018, and one of the masterminds we had there, she's a student of Leslie Householder. So I did that, and I'm like, I don't really like this, and I started researching, and I got Bob Proctor, and this is the weirdest thing. I'm not on Facebook very often, and my coach happened to say next week I'm having it's going to be 5 days, 1 hour coaching things, talking about Bob Proctor's entire philosophy is Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. And so, this is everything he's based on, and it's a book that I've never enjoyed reading. And this is how I met Susan, and things just clicked. I mean, things just clicked now. She's no longer coaching. She's now bringing. She's doing something new in London. She's flown me over to London 3 times to help her out. We're going to bring it to the United States, and I'm like, wow! Just from somebody I met on Facebook to how things are going. Like, my world expanded and expanded and expanded, and the only thing I can say is thank you.
Have you heard of another book that he wrote that was released like 70 years later called Outwitting the Devil?
Yes.
Have you read that or listened to it?
It's on my list to read. I've not read it yet, I'll be honest.
Go there. Like, it's extraordinary. I had a recent podcast guest that shared that with me, and like, game changer as far as like what he was talking about inside of Think and Grow Rich, because his editors made him remove the word vibration from all of his works.
Why?
They didn't allow it. Editors would not allow you to talk about vibration in the 20s and 30s. That wasn't the thing that was accepted. So he deleted it, and he wrote this book about his experience with his I don't know if it was imaginary or like how he did it, but it's extraordinary how that plays out. I got the audiobook, so it just gets a different flavor. So I just want to share that with you and our listeners too, if you're listening to it.
Yes, thank you.
It's an amazing book. It really is like, it's about how we're so influenced by, I'm going to tell on myself, but like, if I'm not really aware, I'll fall into perfectionism, and which causes me to procrastinate. Like, it causes me to keep going without actually producing when I lose my relationship to results, I'm spinning. And it's so easy to do when you're creating something new or you're working on something, which I love creativity, but at the same time, you cannot lose your groundedness to manifest. So having this conversation that's inside that book, I think it will help you tremendously in your endeavors, because it just is a heightened knowing about how to stay out of those behaviors, because it's habits. It's our habits is what it's like what moves everything effortlessly. It's like it's the autopilot of the universe. But, our habits, are the things that our habits keep in place used to serve us, but as we get older, they don't. Like, my winning formula in life was somebody had to tell me I couldn't do something. And if they told me that, done. Didn't even think
Yes.
about it. But over time, it's like you almost have to contort yourself to get people to show up like that, because it's all on a subconscious level. And when I became aware of that, I no longer needed that, and I could create it in a different way. But that requires new habits, which is what you're talking about. It's like your morning practice, what you do in the evening, how you're keeping your thinking in check is so crucial, because most of us don't talk about it. We just allow it to happen, like the self-talk that we have with ourselves. That's what's generating everything. But what you're doing is you're doing actionable things that are causing a different result in your life, and your like expression, your energy is like, yeah, I love that. And now, like, having the Bob Proctor, how has that affected your daily? How's that affected your life actually, as a whole?
From
That's
January
extraordinary
12th
information.
From January 13th, let's say January 13th, when my world turned on its axis. I'll be honest with that. To what we're now in July. I did more real estate in 2022 than the other 3 years all combined. There's a thing I do here in North Carolina that I can't do in Arizona. I have the contract with a National Business Broker Association, where the brokers contact me. Next week it's only a day. I'm only flying out to Las Vegas, and they're flying me back, but I'm going to speak to a convention of 100,000 insurance agents, teaching them how to save 1099 income. The person dropped out, and they're like, they're at their Mirage, and there's no hotel rooms in the Mirage. We booked it all out. Do you mind flying out 6 o'clock in the morning? We'll get you home by 8 o'clock at night. I'm like, they're my people. I'll do what I need to do. And, if you told me this a year and a half ago, I'd be like, I'm depressed. What am I going to do? And thank God I had a great coach in my life. And can I just give you one other thing that my mom started? My younger brother remembers this. My older brother does not. When my mom was potty training us, you get up in the morning and you go do your business, and then you have to wash your hands. My mom always said, look in the mirror, look yourself in the eye, and say, I love you, Sally, because somebody that day said they loved you. I still do this every day. And my mom came from very rural Ireland. She didn't know electricity until she went to London at age 16 for nursing school. I mean, wasn't reading all these crazy, Bob Proctor or manifesting and things like that. But I tell people that all the time, because I don't think people hear that someone loves them enough. And if you say it to yourself enough, you'll start believing that.
Of course. Because
Yes.
we're believing the other crap if we're not. We're believing something. So it's either what we're creating, or this monster that's in our heads that does not know what it's talking. It's like it's drunk or something, right? But we listen to that, and that's the way that
we
is.
do.
Yeah. Until we don't.
Would you talk to your friend or your mother the way you talk to yourself? I mean, no, you wouldn't.
No, but you have to become aware of it before you actually have access to it. And you can't become aware of something until you acknowledge it and talk about it, which is why I love having these conversations with people all over the world. It's because it's an uncommon conversation, and I am a stand that becomes normal. That we talk to people, it's like, oh, something really crappy happens in your world. Got it. You're here. I got you. Let's talk about what was under the hood before this thing happened, and then so you learn how to reconstruct that the way you want it to produce the result that you want. So we just weren't taught this, and when the failure thing happens and you don't understand failure is not a failure, it's just like you get information or you win. That's the only two things that happen. There really is no such thing. So once you become present to that, if you don't, your mind's going to tell you that you are, feed the unworthiness, and keep you small, which is in that book about outwitting the devil, is how he constructed, however he wrote this book, the information is so easy to relate to because of the story, that how he communicates it. It's like, oh my God, this has been happening since I was little. Like, gosh, there's just so much that we're like unaware of. But when we do become aware of it, then we become empowered.
Yes.
And that's
Yes.
that's my mission in life. It's like helping people switch from one track to the next. So I love that you are doing what you're doing. So what's next for you? What are you excited about that you are now creating and you're bringing into your life? What is the next thing for you?
For
Bigger,
me,
like,
for me, I'm going to continue what I'm helping people with what I'm doing. My mom is a very central figure of my life. She grew up very food insecure. She was 6 when World War II started in Ireland, and they couldn't get anything in there. So I purposely donate in her name every time I sell a trust. I'm doing real estate, getting investors involved with it. I love my days. I mean, talking to people, working with people. It's just, yeah. My nephew just moved down to near the Outer Banks. I'm a scuba diver, and so I'm going to be going down. I'm going to go down on Thursday night. Go to the courthouses on Friday, babysit that night, so then my nephew and his wife can go out to dinner. And then Saturday, I'm going to go scuba diving this weekend, and I haven't done that since before COVID, so I'm so excited. And then off to Las Vegas next week.
This is so perfect because even though we're talking about money, people have whatever thoughts or reactions they do about money or not money. Like, really, it's not about the damn money. It's about you being able to be free to go have the experiences with your family that you want to have because of the joy that it brings you, right? So it's not about Go ahead.
My niece is 7 months pregnant, and she's like, "It's going to be an early night." I'm like, "Hey, go have fun together," because they have almost a 3-year-old, and they're like, they can't go out to eat with them, and she and I get along fantastically. We're going to have fun with the dog, so yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So, yeah, I don't know what else I'm going to be doing for the rest of the summer. Things just come up all the time, and I can say yes or no because I have options. That's always the most beautiful thing.
Yes. Because you've expanded your awareness.
Yes.
I love it. Well, I thank you so much for having this powerful conversation about money, how it impacts your world, and how you're impacting the world of others by teaching them what it is that you do about how to structure your money so that they're empowered to keep more of it. And at the end of the day, that's really what we're doing. It's like shifting from surviving to thriving. And when you're a part of that, ever how that is, then that has to come back to you and allow you to thrive in your life. So I appreciate you having the conversation with me today. And
I appreciate it too. I know I didn't fill out the form and everything, and I'm like, just ask me questions. I thought this went so well.
It is. Sometimes it just happens. Like, life, I just go with it. Because I know it's happening the way it's supposed to, and I don't sort of fight it. It's so easy to get hey, I'm running late, got it screwed up with the links. It could be really simple to get in my head about it, but it's like, no, go with the flow. Everything's perfect.
Like, I sent you an email. I'm like, yeah, I saw it. I'm like, oops, the link was the part. I when you're not completely awake and you don't read it correctly. So yeah, that was my mistake. So I had fun. I wish you well with your podcast.
Thank you so much, and I will attach your information to the podcast description box below, wherever that travels, so people can reach out to you and learn more about what it is that you do and how you help people save more of their own money.
I appreciate it. I hope you have a beautiful summer then.
I will. And to our listeners, I hope you guys had an amazing time listening to our conversation today about money. Even though if you're not in real estate or if it's important to all of us, but whatever context it is that you're listening to, just want to thank you, Sally, for stepping up and being uncomfortable and going to that party that one night. Yeah,
it's true. I mean,
everything that we want is on the other side of being uncomfortable. It just is.
It really is. Yeah. Because you're growing. When you're uncomfortable, you're expanding.
Yes, and that's where you have the opportunity. So thank you for reminding us of that and sharing your story. Hope you guys got some value out of it today, and I'm going to go look at your money a little bit differently today. be more empowered with it, because of what you're creating is helping you create more experiences that when you experience them, elevate your life. And that's what it's all about. So thank you guys. I appreciate it. Much love. And we will see you on the next one. Bye for now.
Take care. Bye-bye.